Guys, it's Peggy Kaczynski. I retired early from my 20-something career as a sportscaster, covering the Bulls, the Bears, the Blackhawks, the Cubs, the White Sox, and really every other college and high school team in Chicago. So what do you do after that? Well, you start a podcast. That's what I did with my teenage son, Jason. And the result is The Sportscaster and Her Son. Yes, I'm the baby boomer, a mom. We don't get along. We don't have a lot in common, but we both share a love for sports. And we always have great sports conversation. Even better, our guests in the interviews. So come check us out. We're on Podbean and the Barroom Network, or really wherever you get your audio. The Sportscaster and Her Son podcast. See you there.
You're listening to the Ballroom Network. The following program is intended for all audiences. Welcome to the South Burbs Hitmen podcast with your hosts, Joe Mandel, Steven Zim Zimmerman, Vinny Parisi, and Chris Gonzalez. We're bringing you the White Sox coverage you need from the perspective of true Southsiders. Grab your Kaminsky dog with an ice cold beer and meet us in section 155. Everyone get on your feet for your 2021 South Burbs Hitmen.
That ball hit deep. Way back. You can put it on the board. Yes. Jimenez in the air. Left field. He's your hero tonight. Thanks, Cubs. Over the head of Jenks. Uribe charges, throws. Out! And the White Sox have won the World Series. Alexei! Yes! 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 History! A perfect game by Mark Burley, and what an unbelievable play by 21.
First pitch starts now.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the South Burbs Hitman podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Mandel, and I'm joined by my White Sox brothers in arms. I'm talking about Vinny Parisi, Chris Gonzalez, and Steven Zim Zimmerman. Gentlemen, it was a rough weekend for the White Sox. Put a bit of a sour taste in our mouth, but how are you guys feeling? Vinny, I'll start with you.
It sucks, because it kind of feels like it erased all that good that came before it in terms of beating Toronto and beating Tampa Bay. Those are great teams. You go 2-1 against two teams like that with a sweep of the Tigers in between. And as bad as the Tigers record is, it's a team that can beat anyone on any given day. They're one of the better bad teams, I would say. So it was a good stretch, and it all kind of feels like it came crumbling down in Houston, and you could say that team has the White Sox number right now.
Yeah, I would say so. And by the way, congrats, Vinny. We're happy to have you as a full-time member of the South Burbs Hitmen. So thank you for agreeing to be a part of the show, man. We love having you.
Absolutely. I couldn't thank you guys enough. I'm happy to be here and ready to get to work.
That's right. Lots of White Sox stuff to talk about. Chris Gonzalez, how are you, my friend? I'm going to do a quick whip around. So what do you got to say about this weekend?
To go off of what Vinny just said, I mean, he's absolutely right. We at least can say we can now beat the good teams at home, but now we got to repeat that going on the road. And Astros, they're a hot team. Definitely a lot better, a lot hotter offensively than Toronto is, I believe, in my opinion. And they really showed our flaws with our team right now. And if we really want to do anything in the postseason, we're definitely going to have to win on the road versus above 500 teams, for sure. So I'm sure we'll get there. It was nice. It was nice to see, though. Nice competition. And we're going to see them again in July. So I'm really not too worried. I'm really more worried to see what Han has to say with the deadline looming. But other than that, bring on Pittsburgh, and Seattle is above 500, so they're going to be this weekend. So it'll be nice to jump on, that record, hopefully. So other than that, I'm excited for the upcoming week, guys.
Me too, man. And Zim, before we get into our topics at the top of the show, first off, how you doing? Secondly, rough weekend, huh?
Yeah, those two things kind of go hand in hand. It could have been. It would be better.
So you're doing great.
I would be doing better if that weekend had gone a little better. Unfortunately, a 4-game sweep is just brutal, no matter how you slice it. And like Chris said, just look forward, turn the page. Let's focus on the teams in front of us. I don't know. Maybe someone was banging on trash cans again. I don't know, but something went awry.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that talk on Twitter, but who knows? It's speculation at this point. But we got our butts kicked, so we can't argue with that. But the bats went ice cold, so that's a big part of it. They got to start hitting again. And some news from the week, guys. Adam Eaton to the injured list. Not much of a surprise here to anybody. But it kind of opens up a spot. Michael Kopech close to a return. At least it sounds like that's what Rick Hahn's gotten to say, but he's been saying that. It feels like he's been saying that for over a week now. Can Michael Kopech come back and make a big difference in this bullpen? I mean, they've kind of had some rough patches lately. Zim, can Kopech have a huge effect on this team as soon as he comes back?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you kind of saw him have that effect on this team at the beginning of the year when he first started coming out. And then when he made that spot start in that first doubleheader, it really fired those guys up. It was definitely something that I think this team, this pitching staff sort of was counting on. So for him not to be there, I think might have actually contributed in some ways to the level of confidence to the guys around him, knowing that somebody that good isn't behind you to help you out if you need it. You feel like you got to do it all by yourself. Look at Abreu at the beginning of the year. It's kind of a similar situation. So
yeah,
I think him coming back would be massive.
Healthy.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. I mean, huge shot in the arm for the bullpen. And we've got Jace Frye, who's been throwing well in the minors. You would imagine you see him called up at some point soon. Gonzo, who do we send down when we bring Jace Frye up?
I'm probably going to have to throw Marshall out there. I haven't seen, too much great out of him. Yeah. He just seems like he's regressed, this year compared to his great year last year in the shortened season. But for me, I'd have to go with, Marshall with Frye coming back. I didn't like Frye too much in that shortened season, but he's looked good in AAA. So hopefully he continues that in the big leagues, because we definitely need another arm. Even with Kopech coming back, and with Kopech, he's a guy that before injury, you can make an argument that he could have made the All-Star game as a reliever. And hopefully he does continue that when he comes back, and maybe he does get a shot at doing so. But yeah, when he's been injured, as far as righties go, besides Kopech, Hoyer is like, besides, Hendricks, Hoyer is your only guy really. Burr looked good. I liked what I saw out of Burr this past weekend. But other than that, I mean, we're definitely going to need Kopech in a high leverage situation like Crochet. So I really like how the things are shaping up. Maybe you might not need to go make a trade at the deadline for a reliever when you got Kopech and Frye coming up. So, I mean, I saw the trade ideas with Frazier or Ricardo Rodriguez for Pittsburgh, and those two guys would be great. But I think we can manage resources elsewhere at the moment.
Absolutely, man. I'm with you 100%. And, speaking of trade deadline, I mean, there's been a lot of trade winds blowing, right? And I know, Vinny, you've been seeing a lot of this on Twitter, and kind of everyone's seeing it all over. Oh, upgrade at second base now with Madrigal gone, right? Eduardo Escobar is an interesting name that's floating out there. Previous links to the team, probably won't cost that much. Vinny, what are your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, so when the White Sox have been good the very few times over the last however many years, there are two things that they've always liked: guys that used to play for them and guys who are cheap. And Eduardo Escobar fits the bill on both of those accounts. He's a good player. He would be leading the team in home runs if you inserted him on them right now. And his average isn't great, but, not a lot of people take too much stock in batting average in the year of 2021. But his OPS is pretty good. He hits for power. He can get on base. if they're managing Michael Kopech's innings the way that I kind of think they are at this point, because they're heeing and hawing about when he's going to come back, and you put him in the bullpen, you take out someone like Marshall or Birdie, one of the guys who have struggled, and then you trade for a guy like Escobar and improve, the offense a little bit. He could play second base, which is a position of need as of late. I think it could be a good move.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think it could be a really good move. And, this is a guy that you can't believe those 15 home runs would lead the White Sox right now. I'm with you. And I think that power goes a long way. I know he's dealing with the hamstring injury right now. He's didn't he get an MRI today, Vinny? I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah, he was having one. I don't think any results or anything came out, but I'm sure that'll impact whether or not Rick Hahn's able to pull the trigger.
Yeah, no doubt. Last thing we need is another injured player, and we're sure as hell not going to trade for one.
Yeah.
But on the second base front, there's some other interesting news down in AAA, guys. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but Jake Burger playing some second base down there. Is it a smoke screen, or is he actually going to come up and play second base? I mean, the Sox need bats and they need bodies, right? And this is a kid that can hit the label off the ball when he's swinging right. So I think this is a legit possibility for this team. And I know a lot of people out there are like, oh, they're just using it as a smoke screen because they're trying to make deals for players. But I think it's the real deal. I'm curious, real quick roundabout, before we get to our segments of the show. Zim, I'll start with you. Burger at second base, is this going to be a reality in the majors?
It could be. It's tough to say because, frankly, I don't know much about him since his injury. I know he was fairly decent before that. Obviously can hit the crap out of the ball, but in the field, I'm talking. He was a pretty decent defensive third baseman until, I think he ruptured his Achilles. And I don't know much about him since he's come back from that injury, unfortunately. So as much as I want to say, it could totally happen. Who's to say? He's only in still his first season back from that, and this was a couple of years ago. As a guy who was just playing at single A, a couple of years ago, ruptures his Achilles, comes up and plays AAA. Is he really ready for the pros? I don't know.
Yeah, the second base thing kind of scares me a little bit, but he can swing the stick. I know that much. Gonzo, Burger, second base, possibility. Are you confident? Is it just an experiment at this point?
Well, before I answer that, first and foremost, Alex and Travis, welcome, guys. Appreciate you in the chat. But yeah, Joe, we obviously saw that Gavin got the first call as far as, positional players in the minors getting called up for a weekend series and never gets a shot at the field, gets sent back down. Burger, in my opinion, he's getting reps at second to be used as a utility guy if we need him. But I really think that he's just going to stay in AAA, which I think is the best option because he needs more reps.
Yeah.
He hasn't got that minor
I'm
league.
with you.
He hasn't got that minor league experience prior with his injury, and this is his first time coming back. He needs all the reps he can get. So as far as Burger goes, I think he should stay down there, keep eating up those reps. But a guy that's beating him out this week is Tim Beckham, and I think he hit 6 home runs last week or something like that. But even he's a guy that, he could come up and give us that production that like Mendick and Garcia are giving us, but really I want more of a pros pro to be, even as a rental. I'll still take that. Guys like Eduardo Escobar that you just mentioned, he's a guy that in the last full season that we had in 2019, I think he batted like 270-ish with 35 home runs and a lot of pop. Take that as you will. That is, again, 2 years ago, so I get the whole 2-year debate about that, but that's still the last full year that we had before the COVID shortened season. Even a guy like Chope in Detroit, that'd be, I think, a great guy and he's a divisional foe, so I'm sure it's not going to be a wise deal. that Detroit's
Premium,
is going to be premium-ish probably. But I think these are just guys that just need a new home, because they're playing with teams that are having a rough season in Arizona and Detroit. And that can go the same. I know he's expensive, but we brought him up Blackman in right field. He's going to be expensive, but I think he just needs a new home on a competitive team. But there's a lot of these rentals that you can go and get. And if it were me, I think you make your best deal right now for your right fielder, because I think you can get a pretty solid pros pro at second base, like Escobar and some of these other guys that are out there. But I think your best bet needs to be in right field, because that's where we're going to get most of our production, I feel, and a defender, because we're really seeing the lack of defense right now in that position. I mean, we saw that Houston rip one down the line and the guy scored from first base, and probably would have had him if we had a good throw from a cutoff or just from the right fielder in general. But we just have seen that a lot lately, and I just think that's the position that's really at need right now. But other than that, and even that in our farm system is thin right now. People wanted Blake Rutherford up, but he's not producing. We just saw the debut this past weekend with Cespedes and Haye, so he's still a ways off. Probably next year.
He gets his visa stuff figured out right after we have Phil Selig on from Cuba Dugout. So that's a little ironic as well. Maybe we'll see him later in the season. Maybe we won't. We'll see. But before we move on, Vinny, I want to ask you one question. You covered this team. You write about them all the time. This Escobar talk, everyone's looking at other names out there for second. But this is the most Jerry Reinsdorf kind of guy out there. Can you explain to people exactly what that means? Because I feel like when I tell someone that, they look at me like I'm crazy, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Escobar can be acquired if the Jake Burger stuff doesn't work out, or even if it does, because when they put Andrew Vaughn in left field, people are like, oh, we'll see. When they tried Yohan Moncada at third, oh, we'll see. That means they're not getting Machado. Well, both of those guys are playing full-time at that position now, however many days later. So the possibilities there with Berger, but with Escobar, if he came in, he would fit the Jerry Reinsdorf criteria, which is, you used to be here. We like old guys. And, he's also cheap. And both of those things fit what the White Sox like to do in that situation. And it's not the type of cheap that I don't necessarily think is a bad thing, because, you need a cheap second baseman right now. If you want to go out and get a power hitting right fielder, that's one thing. Some of those other guys are going to cost a little more. If there's a pitching injury or something like that, that could cost a little something. You never know. So, and we don't know what their offseason plans are. I'm sure this team's going to keep trying to improve, even if they make a deep playoff run here. We'll see what happens when they get healthy. But, I mean, this is just the beginning. So if you want to go for a cheap finish the season second baseman, knowing Madrigal is going to come back next year, and you got guys like Gonzo mentioned coming later on, like Cespedes, and we'll see what happens with Gavin Sheets and Jake Burger. But I mean, that's what you mean by he's a Reinsdorf guy. It's also the proof is who reported it today. Bob Nightingale. It was confirmed to me by my good friend Robert Murray that if Nightingale tweets something about the White Sox, believe it, because he has a direct line to Jerry Reinsdorf. And Bob's gotten a lot of things wrong, but when it comes to the White Sox, you ought to believe it because he's telling the truth.
I love it, man. I'm excited about Escobar and that potential as long as he's healthy. I know, you got Chi Sox Nation, who's a new listener who tuned in. So thank you for tuning in, saying, he just found out about the show. What's up with Escobar? And, what's up is that, we think he's a great fit. He does have some sort of knee strain or hamstring strain. I don't remember exactly what it is, but he got an MRI. But as long as he's healthy, he could be a great target. And I agree, Vinny. We'll have to wait and see. But Nightingale is always money when it comes to the White Sox. So I would have to agree with you there. And Gonzo, before we get going, I know you had one thing you wanted to add. I know I've probably said that like 20 times. So if you're taking a shot for every time I say it, you're going to get pretty hammered during the show. Gonzo, what do you got before we move on?
Yeah, maybe if you want to, step your deals up with, mid-level prospects, but put a good package together, go get Adam Frazier from Pittsburgh. He's not only just second baseman, but right fielder as well, and that fits two positions of need. I think that would be your best, he's under contract for a while too, so that's your best add, I feel, talent-wise to go and get. And you could probably send down Mercedes and bring Sheets up too, and both of them could fill out those two needs at second base and right field. So that's just how I'm looking at it at the moment.
Yeah, you got Chubbs here talking about Jerry Reinsdorf. You should always believe what Reinsdorf is feeding his puppets. Everybody who has a direct line to the organization is basically state media. Yes and no with Jerry. He's one of those guys that he'll leak stuff that's good and he'll leak stuff that's bad, but either way it helps the team. So in this case, as you mentioned, Gonzo, I think it's a great point. There's other targets out there, right? And putting interest in one makes the other guy interested and gives you a different package. So, it's strategic, and then it's part of the deadline, which is coming up quick. And I tell you one thing, I'm just ready to get there. We're almost at the halfway point. All-Star game. This is a reminder, everybody, vote for your White Sox. There's no White Sox that are number one at their position right now in the vote. And that's kind of criminal because there's been so many guys that have been so good on this team. Yoan Moncada, Jose Abreu, these are guys that need your votes. And just because they had a down week, don't forget that they've been awesome all year long. So vote for your White Sox. And gentlemen, let's get to the segmented part of our show, because that was one of our longest opens ever, but there's been so much to discuss, and we'll probably talk about more stuff later. But let's get to the segmented part of the show. Gonzo is going to talk to us later about the All-Star game. We'll get there in just a second. But let's critique our buddy Tony La Russa in a segment we like to call La Russa's Locker. So let's dive right in right now. So guys, I didn't have a lot to argue with this week from Tony La Russa. I didn't have a lot of praise. I didn't have a lot to nitpick. I was just kind of one of those weeks that were what they were, and I don't think any manager would have made much of a difference. But there is one thing that I think you, Chris, and Vinny have both been discussing this, so I can kind of let you two talk it out. Zim and I might just sit on the side while you two duke it out, and we'll come back in. But talk a little bit about the pitch selection with Crochet in Game 2, that ninth inning in Houston. I feel like it's a great conversation, and I just want you two to talk about it. So let's just go there.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I don't really care. He used Crochet. Earlier in the year, Crochet struggled in extra innings, and I don't know if it's an issue with him. He has a sub-2 ERA for the most part. Like, those runs in extra innings aren't earned because they start with the runner on second. So if you give up one hit, especially when you're on the road, the game's over. But so I'm not really holding it against him. I think Garrett Crochet is a fantastic pitcher. I'm indifferent about him using him in that spot. The only thing, there's Liam Hendricks. He used him when they were getting blown out on Sunday, where if they would have used him in that situation, maybe they get to the 10th and score a run. You never know. But I mean, it's not really necessarily a critique. It's just like, the fact that that's the one thing to praise or critique throughout all of this, it kind of shows that the week was just kind of like bland. Like, they took 2 or 3 from the Rays. That was nice. And they bumped into the Astros, who were red hot. So, not much there from me. But the Crochet thing, it's a hindsight kind of thing, because in the moment, I wasn't like, oh, I can't believe he brought in Crochet. Crochet is awesome, and he's got nasty stuff. So I think we're probably going to agree on this take for the most part.
Yeah, no, what you said was valid. I wasn't even going to go on the parts that you were mentioning, Vin, but when I saw this right away, I put it in our notes for the show this week, just because it's not so much on La Russa as it's in our, our locker, but for the most part, it's for his coaching staff, because in this situation, I love them going as the road team. In this situation, I love them going to Crochet, not only because he's gaining more confidence. You can see that now that he's actually locating and with his stats and all. But when Crochet comes in, it was pitch selection for me, which kind of goes, I believe that'd be Katz handling the pitch selection as a pitching coach. Now I don't know that for certain, but I'm just imagining that's the case. And they were banging that slider 3 straight batters.
Yeah.
They weren't touching the fastball or his changeup.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand. Now, granted, we can speculate all we want if maybe they are continuing to cheat in some way, shape, or form. We're not going to make excuses out of that on this show, but that's just a situation for pitch selection that I really couldn't stand, that they just kept with the slider going. And granted, I brought it up earlier, that ball down the line, that base runner should be at third base, and he shouldn't be scoring in that situation. I think that was Gurriel that was running the bases, and he doesn't have much speed.
Took a while for the ball to get in, for sure.
Exactly, and that's what irritated me watching it on TV. But I was happy that Crochet came in that situation, and I'm glad, because I was hoping we would save Hendricks, our best pitcher, for extra innings if we can get out of that inning.
Yeah.
Because we are on the road here. We can't forget the situation that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I feel really confident when Hendricks comes in that situation, but I get the debate if you want to go back and forth on it at all, or at least the audience can, with bringing your closer into the 9th and not having him in extra innings. I get it, because you have to get to the extras to begin with. I get that, but in this situation, this is how I thought it would line up, and it did. And unfortunately, they were banging the slider, and we can go back and watch those sliders, but he was, they were, for the most part, on thigh high on the outside part of the plate, and they just kept nailing them. So
yeah, that's totally fair. And Crochet has the ability to be like Michael Kopech next year in terms of that, guy in the bullpen who's the long reliever. They're not going to use him as much as Kopech this year, but if they take Kopech and make him a starter, Crochet's going to be that guy. So it also could be a let's see what he can do here. And, the Astros beat them. They're a good team. They're hot. So, like I said, when it's the one thing you look at as the thing to kind of use against the coaching staff in a series where they get swept, you're kind of in an okay spot, because it was nothing managerial. It was just a hot team beating a team that was on the road and didn't play well. It's easily fixable for me, because of the fact that it wasn't Tony La Russa being stubborn or anything like that. So, I don't even know what to say in terms of how to describe it, because it was just not that big of a deal.
I also want to say, just what Lance Lynn said on, what was that, Friday or Saturday? This is June.
It's June.
And not only is it June, but this is a situation that Tony put Crochet in a high leverage situation versus one of the hottest teams in the AL, and say, hey, show me what you can do in this situation. And we're going to need him not only probably July, we'll see that matchup again, but in the postseason, I'm telling you, we're going to see him and Kopech in high leverage situations. That's what I see at the moment. And let's not forget, this kid last year went from being drafted to playing in the postseason in Oakland versus another hot bullpen in the Oakland A's last year. And
he's come a long way.
I wrote about this in the articles from last fall, that what I couldn't stand was that Ricky going to the bullpen the very first inning, making a bullpen game versus the best bullpen in the AL that quickly. Granted, if Crochet doesn't get that, what was it, that flexor strain in his arm? Yeah,
we were a little nervous for
in his forearm. If that doesn't happen, that game could be completely different. But at the same time, this is a kid that. This is not the trend that we're seeing of, hey, we're going to send all these high-level prospects, keep them in the farm system and work their way up. No, they're getting MLB action right away. And, I said it, I think last week or the week before that as far as our young arms goes, Crochet, I believe, has the most potential out of them all. And him and Kopech are going to be really fun to watch. And, we'll see if they make it in 2022 in the starting rotation. It's going to be interesting. But for the meantime, I'm going to eat up watching both of them in high leverage situations of the bullpen. That's just fun baseball to watch.
Amen, man. It's definitely fun to watch. And our pitching staff is just it's going to be a joy over the next few years. Let's put it that way. But Steven Zimmerman, I got to go to you because you have a guy that you like to critique all the time. And, I think it's justified because you used to be a catcher yourself. So swing, batter, swing, you're up. What do you got to say? You're muted, my friend. I will unmute you.
Who was behind the plate for that game? I believe it was Grandal, was it not? Regardless of who was behind the plate, right? I'm going to sound like a broken record when it comes to critiquing Grandal specifically, right? So I'm not going to point him out because I don't actually know who was behind the plate in that game. There is something to be said for how young he is. You guys all touched on points surrounding what I'm about to say, but didn't actually get to the point I'm about to make, which is, he's a young star. He is very inexperienced though. Okay. Apparently it was Collins behind the plate, but that's just it doesn't really change the point that I'm about to make. Okay. The catcher is going to be relied upon very heavily by these young pitchers, right? And because of that, he needs to have an airtight plan with the pitching coach. And so Katz is certainly somebody to be mentioned in this conversation, but the catcher is just as responsible here because he's the veteran. He's the one that this young pitcher is going to be relying on. And he's the one who's got to recognize, like, hey man, I'm calling these sliders and either you're not hitting your spot or they're seeing it really well or whatever, regardless of what it is. He needs to help him make that adjustment, whether it's a mound meeting, whether it's just changing up the way that he's calling the pitches, whether he's just setting up that pitch a little bit differently. Like there's all kinds of things you can do in that situation. And yeah, it's a good learning experience for everybody involved for sure. Particularly Collins, who doesn't get a ton of time behind the plate, right? But it's just as important that like the coaching staff sees this and acknowledges it and goes into it. And oh man, I have one other point to make, but I saw Joe putting his hand up and it distracted.
Real quick, Collins almost had 2 no-hitters this year. Just FYI, that's all I wanted to say.
No, that is true. That is true. But it was Radon for both of those games, and Radon has just been lights out this season. So I don't know. Sure, there's definitely credit to be given to Collins in those situations, but I don't know. To me, that's not nearly as big of a deal. To me, it's a lot easier for a catcher to call a game when things are going well than when a game is starting to get off the rails and you're just like, I don't know what the hell to call. And the other point that I was about to make is that we've seen in the last couple of weeks that Crochet is actually starting to lose some velocity on his fastball. And I don't know if that's because he's changed something, if it has anything to do with this new substance rule, if it's because he's trying to last longer as the season goes on, but he's lost a few miles per hour on his fastball. And I'm wondering if maybe he's not trusting it as much. And maybe that's why they were calling for the sliders in that situation. I don't know that to be a fact or anything. It's just something I've observed. Maybe there's something to it. I don't know. I've rambled on long enough. I think this conversation, we've said about everything that we can say about it. So we should probably change it into, I don't know, what's our next segment? Let's go to the Adam Dud of the Week.
You suck.
You suck. Suck.
Stupid. Lousy. No excuse.
What a dud. What a total dud.
That's right. The total Adam Dud of the week. It's the guy that we think pooped the bed. And he had a rough week, and there was a bunch of them this week. Well, at least this weekend, there was a bunch of them. But Chris Gonzalez, we'll start with you, man. Who is your Adam Dud of the week?
My Adam Dud of the week is going to be our captain. Well, not really. He's one of the captains, but MVP, Mr. Pito, and that is Jose Abreu. He's been slumping lately, and when there's a time when we're having a week where we're facing some of the best teams in the AL, you need your MVP to be setting the tone for the offense. And there's a lot of scenario situations where runners were left on base and we didn't convert in those situations, and we can't have that when we're playing these teams, especially on national television. And granted, I know it's just June, but we could have proven ourselves again, not only at home, but on the road in Houston. And in this situation, Jose needs to, pick it up, especially if he wants to make the All-Star game. He's got to start competing, and it's really hard to compete versus Vlad Jr. right now that is chasing the Triple Crown. So he's got to show he's the MVP in the shortened season, but he's got to prove it over the long haul here. And hopefully we see more of Pito lighting the offense up in the upcoming days.
Yeah.
Here.
He's not going to have many weeks like he had this week. Just for everyone who's curious, he went 3 for 23 this week, batting 130 with only 4 RBI and 1 home run, 2 walks, struck out 6 times. So a bit of a rough week for Jose.
Wait.
So that's a war.
I'm sorry, you just said 3 for 23?
Yes.
So that would make him 4 for his last 42. That's bad. That's
bad.
under. That's like a .96 batting average or 0.96 batting average. That's awful. He needs to turn that shit around. Excuse my French, but
Well, he's got to turn it around now. It's now or never before the All-Star break, and because you get that time off, it's never good. You got to stay hot. So let's get that bat swinging, Jose. Vinny, who is your Adam Dud of the week?
Yeah, so the one I'm going to go with, I'm kind of disappointed because he was just starting to get rolling, and then he faced his old team, and they just shelled him. And it's Dallas Keuchel. So Dallas Keuchel, I truly believe against certain teams, he has the ability to just get it done. Against the Houston Astros, when they're all offense, that starting lineup is just hot right now. They're going to hit a guy like Dallas around every now and again because he looks for them to make contact. He wants the double plays and the ground outs and the fly outs. Like, that's what Dallas looks for. So a team that can tag the ball as well as Houston can, it can get to him, and it did. Now, can he go to school on that if he ends up facing him in the playoffs? Well, they use Dallas in different situations in the playoffs based on that fact at this point in his career. Against a team like the Astros, is power pitching a better type to go against them? Lance Lynn, Carlos Rodon, Giolito, even Kopech, those guys tend to do better against teams like the Houston Astros. Like when they faced the Blue Jays, they were able to figure it out. Vlad Jr. didn't look like his normal self. He got on base at a decent clip, but he didn't hit any home runs. And then he goes to Boston the next series and dominates them again. Like, stuff like that sticks out to me. So when I look at Dallas Keuchel, it makes me – I was disappointed to see him have a bad game, but I also think, like, hopefully that's just one out of, a really good stretch because he's been good leading up to that.
No, I'm with you, man. He definitely had a rough week and, rough start for that matter. And I don't think there's anybody on the team that had as rough of a week as my Adam Dud pick, and that's Yermin Mercedes. Went 0 for 15 with 6 strikeouts. I mean, this guy looks absolutely lost at the plate right now. I don't know what Yermin can do, but maybe it's getting a couple of days off, getting a fresh mind, but he cannot hit anything right now. It's pretty scary, actually, because he went from hitting everything to hitting nothing. He's just got to have to make an adjustment at this major league level. So he is my Adam Dud of the week. And last but not least, Zim, who's your Adam Dud?
I don't think anybody said Lance Lynn yet, have they?
Nope.
Not yet.
That was a god-awful performance he put up over those 2 starts.
It's my fault.
In comparison to how he was pitching before. He went from having a 1.23 ERA to I didn't see what it ballooned up to, but I got to imagine it's over 2 now. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I know it went up from 123 to a 150 at one point, and it's just 2 games, 10 innings pitched, 9 earned runs, 14 hits allowed, and 4 walks. That's not good. I'm sorry. What'd you have there, Joe?
No, I think it was Vinny.
Oh, sorry, Vinny.
No, I just said it was rough.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that. I thought somebody had his actual ERA.
I'm
I didn't know. No, that's fine. You guys take your time. I can babble for days. Lance Lynn, though, he looked like a completely different dude. He looked like he didn't have that BDE we're used to him walking onto the mound with. It's a 2.14 ERA now. So he went from a 123 to a 2.14. That's almost a whole point in 2 starts. That's so bad. I mean, that should really reflect. Don't get me wrong, 2.14 is still a fantastic average. But when you have those first 11 starts of the year like he did, it's hard to have a bad average through 13 starts.
Yeah,
But
it's a little misleading too, Zim. It's a little misleading because he wasn't horrible against the Rays. He went 6 innings. He gave up 3 runs.
No. Yeah, absolutely. But
that's a great team in the AL. But then he gets shelled by Houston.
Those 3 runs were all off of home runs, though. You know, it was a 2-run homer and a solo blast. This was a dude that was keeping the ball in the yard all season. I don't know if those were the first 2 that he allowed, but they may have been. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head, but I mean, it stands, you know, he kept the ball in the yard. He kept the ball not really on the ground, but playable, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that Tampa Bay's start, that was the first time he allowed 3 runs in a game this year.
It was, yeah.
And he was going up against Glass now. So it was a very, very good game. Both of them were giving up, quite
a lot of home runs in that game. Yeah,
it was quite offensive, productive, which we didn't really think was going to happen in that game. But we weren't expecting, like you're saying, we weren't expecting this Houston game for them to just rock him. But it really happened to our whole pitching staff in Houston. Besides Rodon, Rodon was the only one that was really battling. You hate to see it, but let's see what they can do at home, versus these good teams. You definitely want to have a lot better pitching performances, quality starts on the road, but don't get me wrong, but I love to see that at least for Houston, I love to see what the difference is on the road versus at home with them. That's just how I see it at the moment.
Absolutely, brother. Lots and lots and lots of bad pitching this weekend. We can only hope the recipe for success is going into Pittsburgh and playing the Pirates. At least I would hope that's the case.
You got 2
we'll find out.
type series coming up. Like, you should be able to beat
Pittsburgh and Seattle.
Able to beat Seattle, especially at home with 100% capacity. It's not all doom and gloom because the one good team had their way. Like, think about when they lost to the Yankees on the road. They got swept by the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, and we had a very similar, like, dim type reaction, and then they came out and started smoking everyone again. It's going to happen from time to time. The 2005 White Sox lost 7 straight games twice. So, it's going to happen, and they ended 99-63. Like, those things happen. It's not the end of the world for this team at this point.
Yeah, the Sox are really good at home. I only lean back a little bit just because we just saw Seattle. They just swept Tampa, I believe, in Seattle. So they're going to be hot too.
Yeah, they're struggling too, though, and they're a great team. They're calling up Wander Franco. I don't know what you guys know about Wander Franco, but they're using their slump as an opportunity.
Top prospect in baseball.
Yes, very good player. Yeah, something that I've noticed with Tampa though, I kind of caught it. I don't know if anybody else did. Ever since this little memo came out about doctoring the baseball, not only has their ace gotten injured, but they've started losing quite a bit more. I can't help but think that the two might be related, but it'll take a much longer period of time to see any kind of real correlation.
Yeah. And they're going to be pretty motivated in their next game too, I would think.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when the White Sox called up Moncada, I mean, they were a bad team calling up their top prospect, but we'll see what happens. It's very rare for an elite division leading type team to be calling up the number 1 prospect in baseball, but it'll certainly be fun to watch.
It certainly will be. And we had a great question in the chat here, guys. I want to take, how do the White Sox get back on track? I think it's a great question because, everyone's asking after this tough weekend. I think part of the answer to that question is that they haven't really fallen that far off the tracks, right? They had a bad series against one of the best teams in the American League. Yes. The way that they get back on track is just do what you were doing. Have your pitching be dominating. Have your bullpen get back to form. Then most of all, you got to have your team start to hit again because right now the bats are ice cold, and I think the recipe for success is exactly what's happening. Pittsburgh, Seattle, pitching staffs, while not horrible, are not great, and I think it's going to be good things for the White Sox. Vinny, I see you shaking your head over there. Thoughts on how the Sox turn it around?
My thoughts on how the Sox turn it around is to keep doing exactly what they were doing. They played their game against Houston. The roster is not good enough to beat a team like that when they're as injured as they are, on the road especially. And the pitching wasn't as good as you'd like it to be, so that had an effect. I don't think the pitching is going to stay as bad as it was against Houston. You know, they were able to dominate a team, not dominate, but they were able to hold their own against a team like Tampa Bay and Toronto, who has a very good offense themselves. You could probably say Toronto and Houston have the two best offenses in the American League going right now. And so my get back on track thing is to just get to 7 o'clock tomorrow. Forget about what happened. And, you know, once you start in Pittsburgh, just be done with it. Like, that series happened. It's going to happen again for those watching at home. I'm telling you right now, the White Sox will get swept again this season. That is a fact. And we're going to have the same dim doom and gloom reaction when it's over and act like everything in the past is just erased. No, just keep playing your game. Abreu's not going to go 4 for $1 billion like he did over the last 2 weeks or whatever it is in terms of games. For me, it's just tread water. Eloy's going to come back. We don't know when Robert's going to come back. Madrigal's gone. But, I mean, they're probably going to make a trade. Lucas Giolito and Dallas Keuchel haven't even, like, touched their ceiling, especially Giolito.
Oh.
And Michael Kopech is going to come back. He might be the most talented pitcher the team has ever had. And I remember guys like Chris Sale and Mark Burley. I don't know. I just think just play the game. Like, they're going to, you know, I'm not going to go act like they're going to sweep Seattle and Pittsburgh. They could very well not. But, I mean, if they play their game the right way and get good pitching and make proper decisions, there's nobody that can keep them down long term.
Yeah,
I feel the same ways.
To me, it's kind of like just get to the All-Star break. I think at this point, like, you've got a nice light week ahead of you right here. You got 2 games against Pittsburgh, 3 against Seattle. That's a 5-game week. That's nothing in the MLB, right? This is the easiest week you're going to have all year outside of the All-Star week. That's it. So you get a chance to regroup and refocus, not just mentally, but like physically too, which is huge for any athlete. But then beyond that, you come out with 9 games against divisional opponents in the Twins and the Tigers, right? Focus on those games. Those are the games that matter most, right? Let's not worry about some 4-game sweep that happened in June. Let's worry about beating our divisional opponents, you know, in this case on the road, which is huge. Those are very important wins to get. So focus on those, wrap up with 3 games against Baltimore right before, you know, a very crappy Baltimore team I mean, frankly, just they might be the worst team in baseball this year.
Yeah.
And then you're at the All-Star break. Like, it's a really clear path to the All-Star break. Focus on just getting to there and then fire it up and turn on, you know, kick it into overdrive, make that trade if you're going to make that trade, make the call up if you're going to make the call up. You know, if you think Tim Beckham's the guy, bring him up. If you think Adam Frazier's the guy, make the trade. Don't be stupid about it, but make the trade, you know, and then let's play the rest of the season from there. I think these next 2 weeks, 3 weeks are a lot less important than we're going to want to make them out to be.
Yeah. And let me ask you one question. After they had a home series with Detroit in early June, right? And after that series was over, I'm looking, they went 3-1 against them in that series. Then we looked at the schedule and saw that they had Toronto, Detroit again, Tampa Bay, and Houston coming up. I'm looking, they went 9-6 in that tough stretch right there.
Right.
9-6. We probably all would have signed up for that going into that stretch. Now, 4 of those losses were the last 4 against Houston, so it makes it seem worse. But I mean, you know, they went through a hard stretch, and now it's going to lighten up a little bit, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think the path is clear, and this team they're going to get back on track. So I don't, as I said earlier on Twitter, don't hit that panic button. You know, it's plenty of baseball to play. This team is good. They're great. I sound like Tony the Tiger, but nonetheless, we're looking forward to them getting back on track. But guys, you know, we talked about the duds. We talked about Tony La Russa. Let's talk about the guys that lit up the scoreboard this week. Let's cue up the Hawk. Hawk, what do you got to say?
Way back! He looks up! You can put it on the board! Yes!
Yeah, guys. So who tore it up this week on the diamond? There was a few. There were not a lot of guys that went wild. And I realized, Zim, that was cheesy, but you know what? It's like a mozzarella stick, man. You take a bite and it's delicious, so you can't go wrong there.
I love cheese, man. I love cheese.
I mean, come on, who doesn't like cheese, right?
Oh, it's so good.
See, I mean, we're all aligned there. I think everyone in the chat room aligns. I mean, who doesn't like cheese? I guess if you're lactose intolerant, but sorry if you are.
That doesn't mean you don't like it. It just sucks for you.
That's true. That's very true.
They like it. It just doesn't like you. Yeah, Gonzo, cheese doesn't like you, but you like it, right?
Yeah, I'm slightly lactose, so it's a tough time. It's a very tough time.
What? Nothing like getting off track, talking about cheese on a baseball show. But hey, who doesn't like cheese?
Who doesn't just take a brick of cheese to the ballpark?
I mean, maybe Charlie from It's Always Sunny.
Cheese is also on like 90% of the things at the ballpark, so I think this is a very relevant conversation.
Yeah, it's a great teaser for the end of the show. We're going to talk about our must-see things at Guaranteed Rate Field in honor of them going back to 100% capacity on Friday, opening day 2.0 against the Mariners. 3 of us are going to be there. Me, Vinny, Gonzo, Book It. We're going to be there. We'll talk about it more towards the end of the show, but that's what we like to call a teaser. But let's talk about those guys that are on fire, who had a great week. And I think it's hard to talk about a player of the week without talking about Carlos Radon. He continues to dominate pretty much every time he's on the mound. Didn't get any run support per usual, but Carlos was making it look easy against a really tough team, one of the best hitting teams and hottest teams in the American League. So I got to give it to my boy Los. And I actually got to show you guys what I got in the mail today, because I showed you guys via text, you 3 earlier. The White Sox send their ticket package holders lovely things over the course of the year. And I thought it was fitting since he was my pick to click last week. But they send you a nice commemorative ticket for the no-hitter. So you've got the reflective, holographic on there. And it's got my seats inside the ballpark. So if you guys want to know where I sit, there you go.
That's
Section
very
154, cool. Row 34, seats 1 and 2. So, yeah, well done to the White Sox. If you're not a season ticket holder, you can get these. You can go to the White Sox website. I think there's somewhere you can get it. You could buy it. I think it's like I don't know what it is. More money than I paid because I didn't pay anything technically. But very cool that the White Sox do that. I thought it was a cool little nugget for season ticket holders and anyone who wants to get one. But I'm going to go with Los. Enough of my tangent. Who wants to go next? I'm going to look at Zim because he looks like he's got a lot to say. Zim, who is your on the board player of the week?
He's muted again.
Why am I always muted?
Now you tell me.
I know. I keep muting myself, honestly. God, man, I want to give somebody this award. I was literally just looking through the lineups to try to see who I could give this award to. You know what? I give it to our buddy Aaron Lemming, who was at those Astros games, because he was the only winner in that situation, because the Sox played terribly, but at least he got to go see his favorite team in his new home.
Wow, it was so bad, Zim didn't even pick a White Sox player as his put it on the board player of the week. So that's how you know it's bad. Look at Gonzo's reaction on his face. He doesn't even know what to think. Gonzo, are you actually going to pick a player?
Yes, I'm going to pick a player. That was just disrespectful to the Hawk by not picking a Sox player for this segment. For this week, I'm going to pick Yasmani Grandal. We can't forget that Tampa Bay series at home. We beat them with our 3 starters in our lineup, and we completely just Moncada. Yeah, that's right, because of his sinus infection, which I totally feel for the man. But great ad, Vinny. He had a walk-off single, and that was at the 3rd game, I believe it was. Came up clutch for us, and then he ends up still hitting throughout the week. And I especially remember, I think it was Valdez. I think that was game 3 for Houston, or was it? Yeah, that was game 3, I believe. And I remember, it's taken, I think it was a curveball that Valdez threw him, and he just rocketed right up the middle, and it was for a single, which like half of Yaz's base hits are home runs. So the fact that he just ripped one up for a single, I was happy to see that, and it just tells me that more is to come for Yaz as he starts to heat up. And we definitely need, for what the $70 million contract that we paid him, he's going to have to rake when we're needing guys to produce offensively. And until, I tweeted with Han that, the holes are looming. It's time to fill them to go on a run here, because when we come back healthy, this offensive lineup is going to be potentially a whole lot better than what Houston is offering right now when everyone's back healthy.
It definitely can be. I agree with you 100%.
And with how our pitching staff is going right now and our bullpen, gosh, this team's going to be just freaking amazing to watch. But Yaz is my put on the board player of the week. He's absolutely raking, and I love to see it.
I love to see it too, man. Vinny, last but not least, who is your put it on the board player and why?
Yeah, like Zim adequately pointed out, there weren't many to choose from, to the point where he didn't choose a player. But I think I'll just go. There's one guy who's been getting better and better. He was slumping a little bit, and he's been climbing back into it, and that's Tim Anderson. Certainly not great with being 6 for 25 with a 240 average. He didn't have an RBI. He did steal a bag and score a run. The 7 strikeouts are a little, hopefully he can snap out of that, because I like when Tim Anderson isn't striking out. But, if I had to pick someone who's in the lineup who's been a little bit more consistent, wasn't the best during the Astros series, but I'm kind of also including, not necessarily what I should be doing, but what I believe he can and will do based on the rest of the season. Yeah, Tim Anderson's my guy here. He certainly wasn't as bad as some of his colleagues, so we'll leave it with TA.
Man, I love it.
Just to throw something here at the end, if I actually had to pick a Sox player, it would be Yasmani Grandal. But due to my constant
you hate him.
Due to my constant criticism of him, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, and I'm fairly determined to never pick him for put it on the board or pick to click as much as I want to. But there's a little teaser. I think we're going to do picks to click here, but first we have a little commercial break.
South Burbs Hitmen will be right back.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect. He just didn't play that well. Not for a guy of his caliber.
If they don't run the ball here, I'm going to vomit. I swear to God.
I don't really have any recollection of that at all, but I guess perhaps I blacked it all out.
They won, but I'm going to be miserable all week because they stunk. On the latest, sportscaster and her son, Peggy Kaczynski, interviews Dr. Scott Goldman, who administered an intelligence test to quarterback Justin Fields.
Okay, so Dr. Goldman, hang on one second, because we have been talking about how you're protecting the confidentiality of your clients, and we just found out from Justin Fields' agent that it's okay to talk about Justin's scores. This is exciting to us. Now we can finally say yay or nay to what we have heard hearsay in some other reports. So let's talk about Justin Fields.
Hitmen.
Just like that, we're back. And now we get to go into our pick to click segment. And Gonzo, I know you wanted to tack one thing on to the last portion about our buddy Tim Anderson. So you have 20 seconds. Go.
Yeah, just a follow-up. I really was kind of hoping to see maybe Tony mix the lineup a little bit on top of the order, just to change his approach at the plate, kind of like what he did with Grandal. Maybe put him at third and right in front of Abreu, just to have him change his approach a little bit. Maybe that could benefit TA in this situation, and then eventually move him back to the leadoff hitter. But that's just something I kind of thought about, wanted to throw out there. I'm not sure what the chat's going to think about that, but it's something that I kind of like at the moment.
I like it, man. I like it a lot. But let's go to now our picks to click from last week. And, there was a couple rough stats last week. They got them going at the bottom of the screen right now. I picked Carlos Radon. Gonzo went with Tim Anderson. Vinny went with Lance Lynn. And Zim went with Goodwin. Goodwin went 4 for 18. Zim batted .222 for the week with 0 ribbies, 3 runs scored, and 5 strikeouts.
I just want to point out that is less strikeouts and more runs scored than Tim Anderson.
That's correct. And that's where I'm going to go next. Tim Anderson this week went 6 for 25, batting .240 with 0 RBI, 1 stolen base, 1 run scored, and 7 strikeouts. That's high for Timmy for a week. Hopefully he can turn that around. Vinny's choice, Lance Lynn. First start was great. Second start, not so much. Lynn, 2 games, 10 innings pitched, 9 earned runs, 14 hits surrendered, and 4 walks. So Lynn also had a rough week. I guess I had the only one that had a good week out of the 4. I picked Carlos Radon, 1 game, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits surrendered, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, and 3 walks.
You should be proud of that, because it's not like you got the less bad player. Your player was good. Your player was actually good. Well, it's not like you got the, how they say the least drunk guy drives home. It's not like that. It's like you actually had a good player this week.
Well, and I feel like we even gave you a hard time for picking a pitcher that only had 1 start.
You did. I was just going to say that.
And look at you go, man. Bold decision finally paying off. Unlike this guy.
Your buddy Goodwin, Brian Goodwin?
Yeah, Brian Goodwin did
It wasn't good, it wasn't bad. It was just
for Goodwin, it was good.
There you go.
Unfortunately, that didn't translate into any good wins.
Yeah, it didn't translate into any good wins. But
I got to work on my dad jokes, guys. Sorry.
You'll get there.
No, I got it, man. I picked up what you were throwing down. I give you the golf clap there. I like it. So the updated standings here. Let me pull up the banner. I'm catching up with you, Gonzo. Why can't I get this? Where is it? Never available. Wait when I need it.
That was
the wonders.
Your 4th one.
That's right. Updated scoreboard. Gonzo's got 6. Zim has 2. I am catching up with 4, and Vinny is at 0, but it's a little misleading, like I said, because Vinny has only been with us. What is this, week 5 total, Vinny? I think, maybe.
Something like that, 4 or 5.
4 or 5?
None of those count, though. I was a noob. I wasn't part full-time yet.
That's right. So he's got a clean slate. And I will point out that at one point I was down. I think Gonzo had 4 wins and Zim had 2. And I was stuck at 0. So I'm making the comeback. I'm just going to point that out, not to give myself any credit or anything. But with that said, guys, let's go ahead and pick this week's pick to click. I guess since I won, I will go ahead and go first with my selection. And I tend to agree with Vinny's diagnostic report earlier on Tim Anderson. I feel like he's starting to flip the switch. So I'm going to go with Tim Anderson for my pick to click in the upcoming week. And just because I'm feeling generous and I'm feeling Vinny this week, I'm going to let Vinny pick second because he's got to get caught up. So who are you going to go with, Vinny?
Yeah, Jose Abreu's been so bad that it can't continue. I mean, it can. But
you said that last week.
I'm hoping it doesn't. I'm going to take Jose Abreu this week. I think it's my first time taking Jose, too. So we'll see if he can help me break the slump here.
I like it, man. Going big and going home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, technically you're not going home, but anyway, if he's going to turn it, he can't possibly have another week like that. At least I would hope not. Fingers crossed. Who do I want to go next? Paper, scissors, rock for next, guys. I want to see it. Gonzo and Vinny, or Gonzo and Zim, do it. Paper, scissors, rock.
Ready?
Really, do it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Gonzo, you're muted, man. I can't hear whatever you just said.
Zim, just go.
Okay.
Come on, guys. I just wanted to see you play paper, scissors, rock. That's fine.
In all honesty, I really, really want to pick Yasmani Grandal because he has played so well against Detroit this year. But absolutely not. I refuse. I just got over saying how hypocritical I would feel for doing that. So I'm picking Yoan Moncada, who's also been playing very well against Detroit this year.
I like
and
it,
I know
man.
that's next week's series, but he's got to heat up to get to there, you know?
And he's got two pretty good teams to get back on track against, so I like that. And then last but not least, the guy who hates rock, paper, scissors, Gonzo, who you taking for your pick to click?
Give me a quick update first again, because I forgot what you
Sure.
said.
So I took Tim Anderson, Vinny took Jose Abreu, and Zim went with Moncada.
Okay. We got quite a few lefties coming up this week. So I'm going to go to the lefty killer as of lately, and he's a rookie, and it's going to be Andrew Vaughn. He's going to be my pick to click for this upcoming week.
You guys, I have a feeling this is going to be the tightest week yet. I'm not even kidding. Like with only 5 games to play and the all-stars that we just picked. By the way, again, I know we just already went over this about 20 minutes ago, but go vote for the White Sox to be all-stars. You get 5 votes a day. You can vote every day from now until the all-star game, and you can literally fill your whole lineup with White Sox players. Trust me, I do it every day. I've sent these guys screenshots to prove it. Even the guys I vote for in the National League are former White Sox. So trust me, you can do it. Go make your votes. It's super easy, and maybe I'll get to meet a few of them while they're out here. I don't know. I might just jump out in front of a Bentley if I see one. You know, it's a sweet way to get a free autograph.
Zim sent me his ballot, and Wani Ribe was on there. I don't even know how that's possible.
We should do a live ballot voting right now. Just for the hell of it.
We certainly can.
Can we? It's not too time consuming, is it? Like I haven't done it from desktop. I do it on my phone.
It's basically
kind of time consuming.
You basically have to.
So here's what we'll do: we'll do it.
17 live selections.
We'll do it in our next show because I'll have it queued up so that I'm logged in and all that stuff. Because by the time I do all that, it's gonna be not pretty on screen.
I only say we should do that this week just because Thursday's the cutoff for the first process, and then they cut it down to 3 people, the top 3.
That is good information because Tim Anderson is currently 4th in the shortstop voting. So that is why we need to get in that. You know, additional guys, we have Yasmani Grandal in 2nd. We have Jose Abreu in 3rd. And we have, I believe, Yoan Moncada in 3rd as well. So we need to make sure that we get that. By the way, this is off the top of my head. So if you guys think I'm not like some kind of diehard because I don't watch all the games, you know. Anyway, just make sure that we're voting. Anyway, I was just trying to say, I think this is going to be a very, very tight week for this Picks to Click segment. This is the first week that I think nobody's really picked anybody sort of off the wall. We've all had some sound logic and reasoning and not just been, what about this guy? Because what if, you know, I think this is going to be a great week. And with only 5 games, like it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be watching all of these.
It's definitely going to be a fun one. I know I can't wait personally. But guys, you know, let's get into the week coming up, right? I know Gonzo likes to talk about this because he gets to get into his pitching matchups, and you can see the look on his face. He's getting all ready for game time. He's chewing on his gum or whatever it is. But anyway, I'm going to cue it up with the segment. I'm stalling so I can find it. No one pay attention to the man behind the curtain. But we're going to talk about this week coming up on White Sox Weekly. Yes, here we are talking about the week coming up, and let's take a quick look here at the probable pitchers. I'm going to blow this up a little bit so it's a little easier for everybody to see. There we go. A little more friendly on the eyes. So, Gonzo, why don't you take things away and talk about the week that we have heading our way?
Yeah, no problem, Joe. I think that was Rena in the chat that said, what can the White Sox do to turn things around? And what's nice is for the first time in probably like 2 or 3 weeks, but Sox have an off day today and then have an off day on Thursday as well. So 2 off days, some rest, let the guys, clear their minds and come, 2 days on the road and then come back for full capacity on the weekend at home when the stadium's going to be electric. That can turn things around quickly. And for this White Sox Weekly here, we got, like I said, 2 games, Tuesday and Wednesday in Pittsburgh. And the matchups are Gio and Anderson. I haven't seen too much out of Tyler Anderson, the southpaw. And really both of these pitchers from Pittsburgh with that Wednesday matchup with Cease and DeJong. Haven't seen them, know nothing about them, so I can't tell you too much on them. But, you can also read on the description of the paragraphs here a little interesting facts about them. But for those 2,
I want to hear real quick. DeJong, I heard he really hits some mustard when he throws the ball.
Jesus.
Yeah. DeJong mustard.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, guys. Go ahead. Keep going.
You're absolutely terrible. But yeah, I'm really feeling both games here for the Sox. I think they're going to take both of them. And it'll be a nice bounce back performance, hopefully, for Dylan Cease after the rough performance that he had in Houston. And Giolito can bounce back from last week. I mean, Gio's been hot lately, so I'm definitely looking forward to these 2 games, get them out of the way. Look for the candidates that we've talked about earlier with Adam Frazier and Ricardo Rodriguez out of the bullpen for Pittsburgh. Those are both guys that are interesting trade candidates. And their highest hitters, Brian Reynolds, right now batting .299, 12 home runs and 36 ribbies. So he's nothing to look past in that lineup. Then going for next weekend, which me and Joe are going to the game, or not next weekend, this upcoming weekend, me, Joe are going to be at the game. Vinny too. Vinny's going to be there as well to meet us there. And this is going to be an interesting series versus Seattle. Matchups are Friday is going to be Radon versus the Japanese southpaw and Kokachi. And then Saturday, Lynn versus Gilbert. Gilbert is a rookie, very promising arm for them. And then Keiko and Marco Gonzalez on Sunday. So very interesting, at least from the projected pitchers. It's going to be an interesting weekend. And for the games of the series, out of the 2 games, I like Cease and DeJong and Pittsburgh on that Wednesday matchup. And then for the Seattle series, I really like that Saturday matchup, Lynn versus Gilbert. That's going to be a very interesting series to watch, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm not going to be at that Saturday game, so if you're going, you should be in for a good one. But really, any day of that series is going to be a good baseball. So, to everyone's going, you're going to definitely enjoy the series. And Seattle, they're just they got a lot of prospects that are playing up. I know Haniger is not a prospect, but he's probably their best at bat.
He's playing well. He's hitting a hot stick. I got him on my fantasy team.
He'd be a good fit in the trade too.
Exactly. Haniger.
Yes, he would.
I don't know what that package would look like, but you're definitely have to give up something for him. But also don't look past Kyle Seager. His batting average isn't the best at .217, but he has 13 home runs and 42 ribbies. So he's always a lefty to watch out for. But the righty, Haniger, like we've been saying, .254 batting average with 16 home runs and 41 ribbies. Both from the back-to-back are dangerous. So I would love to, as far as right fielder goes, I'd love to have Haniger. See if we can pull it off, but that's another story.
Yeah, it's a distinct possibility, but I think his low average, 254, it doesn't really tell the full story for Haniger because those RBIs are high, those homers are high, and he's not exactly like an Adam Dunn player either. I mean, he does more than just hit home runs. So, and he's got a pretty good arm for a right fielder too. I think that's a little underrated part of his game. I don't think he's the greatest arm, but he's pretty darn solid. Definitely better than Larry Garcia and Danny Mendick. So,
yeah, out of this week, I mean, I'd be shocked if they actually lose a game because I'm really thinking that they should win 5 games this week. Like, I'll be disappointed if anything less, but I understand, baseball's day to day. So
if they win all 5, we're drinking beers on this show, right?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
I drink beers on this show every week.
Yeah. So if they go all 5, all 4 of us are going to shotgun a beer on the show. How about that?
I'm in.
All right, I will buy something cheap.
Busch Light.
Well, yeah, you're not gonna shotgun something like amazing.
I'm gonna shotgun a Guinness. I'm gonna make sure it's something light and cheap.
I'd actually pay to see that. That'd be cool.
Really? How much?
My friends tried to tell me I couldn't shotgun a Coca-Cola, and I did. It was easy.
Well, all right. Well, let's see him go 5 for 5, and we can continue this discussion.
Oh yeah.
There you go. And look, we got Travis went and voted. Thank you, Travis, and the White Sox. Thank you, and we always thank you for being a loyal watcher/listener. Did I say watcher? Man, I need some more to drink today to get me going. But a loyal viewer and listener.
And it's
bring on the grammar train.
White Sox fans.
That too, go White Sox. We appreciate having everyone tune in every single week. But it's a heck of a week coming up, Gonzo. We can't wait to be at the game. Of course, Vinny's going to meet us there, so we'll be on Twitter talking to everybody. If Sox Twitter or anybody wants to meet us, our buddy Gabe is in the chat. He said he's going to be at the game, Bearstown 19 show. He said he's going to be there on Saturday, he's going to be there Friday. Are you going to be there Saturday? I don't know. I thought I saw him say he's going to be there on Friday, but if you're there Friday, Gabe, we'll definitely stop and say hello. So we're looking forward to meeting up with you guys, having some beers and taking in the whole stadium. And again, in the end of the show, before we wrap things up, we're going to be talking about our favorite things to check out, must-see things inside of Guaranteed Rate Field, going back to 100% capacity. Get out there, support your team. We want Guaranteed Rate Field filled to the rafters. 35th and Shield, full house, Friday night. We want it.
And come say hello if you see us. Don't be afraid to come up and say what's going on.
That's right. Come say hello. We don't bite unless we are eating hot dogs or something. But no, that made more sense before I said it, but that's all right.
Joe's probably going to be wasted walking to the ballpark on Friday, so
I'm not going to be wasted. It's not a very strong likelihood that I would be.
You
wasted.
Can't promise that with me at the helm. I'll push.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Gonzo just sent me something over Slack so I can show you guys his ballot. So I am downloading it right now, and I'm going to put it up here on the screen.
I did vote today, but I forgot to screenshot today's ballot that I sent. So I think this is from Sunday or Saturday, I believe, but it's my selection, at least, of some recent voting that I did. And you can vote one of 2 ways. You can vote on MLB's site or just on Google. You can just Google it and vote there as well. So either way, I think you get 5 entries if you go to the All-Star site. And I think Google only does it 1 entry, I believe. But it's an easy process. So please go vote for our Sox, get them out to Denver. So when Zim buys tickets for the All-Star game, you can go watch his favorite Sox out there and not be disappointed.
That's right. And keep stalling, Gonzo, because I almost have it done.
But yeah, like I said, this Thursday is going to be the cutoff for the first phase of it, and then the second phase is the voting out of the bubble guys, top 3. Hopefully, I know for shortstop, Carlos Correa just got to 3, and Timmy's at 4. So that's going to be tough to see, but it's likely to happen. And then eventually the coaches in the league will vote for the pitching staffs for each league. So Sox should be represented well for the pitching staff side of it, but position players are going to have to battle. And as you can tell on my ballot here, I'm trying my best to get some Sox guys in there. Go ahead, Joe, if you want to go over it, and you guys can rip upon my ballot if you want. Like I said, this isn't today's ballot. I think I did change it a little bit as far as the outfielders, if I remember right, for the AL, but go ahead and
I really don't have anything to say, man. Ohtani has to be on there. I'm with you, man. I love that pick. I think Vinny tweeted earlier that he's just had the best week out of anyone in the history of baseball. I think he threw 6 innings, gave up a run, and then he had 6 homers or something crazy like that, right, Vinny?
I could pull it up. He had since Tuesday of last week, so basically since the end of the last show, in the last 6 games, 6 home runs, and so every single game had at least 1, and then there was 1 game with 2. The only game he didn't hit a home run was the game he pitched 6 innings, only giving up 1 earned run, 5 Ks, and a win. So I'm fairly confident in saying that is, if not the best, it is one of the best statistical weeks in the history of the sport.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So he's a worthy candidate for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy that needs to be on an all-star team. What he's doing is just otherworldly.
Yeah, and he was the first player to be in the home run derby, confirmed.
I was going to say, so if you're looking at tickets for the All-Star game, if any of our listeners are, they have what's called a party deck in Coors Field. Shohei Ohtani will hit a few balls onto that.
Absolutely.
Pay attention to that, because that's about 450 feet away and up in the air about 7 stories or so. He will put a few balls on there. It will be worth watching. And if you're buying tickets, don't be afraid to buy in that section, because you still have a decent shot at getting a ball.
Yeah, I think I'm more excited for the home run derby than I ever have been in being a baseball fan, simply because we're going to watch a pitcher with a sub-3 ERA participate in it and probably have a chance to win.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. I'm excited about it. Of course, you got all your White Sox on there. I don't blame you there. All worthy. Garcia, been having a great year. Aaron Judge, same thing. Mike Trout. Mike Trout's always on the All-Star team. A little banged up, but the guy always comes through. Your most controversial choice is Grandal, but between him and Perez, Perez hitting for average but not getting on base. Grandal not hitting for average but getting on base. So it's like we said last week with Phil Selig from Cuba Dugout, polar opposites, similar outcomes. It's a tricky situation. But let's take a look at Zim's ballot. I have it
real
pulled
quick,
up now.
Go
back
quick on this ballot. So today, basically it's kind of similar. Besides Judge, I bumped Judge out just because Buxton's back from injury, so I slotted Buxton in there. For the AL wise, everything looks the same. Early on, I was voting Perez, but then Grandal started heating up, so I'm like, why not try to get him on there since he is being voted on? But then on the NL side, I know we're not talking too much about NL, but Soto got bumped off of it. And I'm trying to remember who I slotted in there for him. Can't remember at the moment, but the rest of them look about the same. But yeah, I mean, it's a loaded ballot for sure. So go ahead, Zim.
Absolutely. Zim, walk us through yours real quick.
So mine's pretty straightforward. Jose Abreu, Nick Madrigal, Yohan Moncada, Tim Anderson, Adam Eaton, Larry Garcia, Andrew Vaughn, Zach Collins, and Yermin Mercedes.
Of course you put Zach Collins.
Zach Collins is the better catcher on the team. There's no question about it. So he deserves to be in the All-Star game.
It's becoming a bit at this point.
And your mean skid, you still want to see him at the All-Star game?
Yeah, your mean is the second best catcher, apparently.
Look, this vote is from about a week and a half ago now at this point. It's just the most recent one that I had screenshotted. So
do you have James McCann as the National League catcher?
Yeah, I sure do.
Why?
He used to play for the White Sox.
Oh my god!
I love that. Not JT Real Muto or anything like that. Just,
Not a guy who actually deserves it. Just a guy that used to play for the Sox.
yeah.
Just like if you notice, Avi Garcia's in the outfield there.
I see that.
And you have a bunch of guys who like the White Sox might go for, or you
right.
at one time went for.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Reese Hoskins, who I think they either tried to go for him or he was in the farm. No, he wasn't in the farm system, but he was linked to the Sox at one point or another. Adam Frazier, who is a recent trade deadline target potentially. Nolan Arenado, who I live in Colorado now. Like, how could you not want to see Nolan Arenado if you're not a Rockies fan? Like, I would love to see him come back to Coors Field in the All-Star game and just get booed in the All-Star game. Like, also, again, was potentially linked to coming to the White Sox very briefly when some stuff with Yoel Moncada was up in the air. Fernando Tatis Jr., we all know the story there. James Shields was better anyway. Ronald Acuna. I actually don't know if he's ever been linked to the Sox. Has he? I don't recall anything.
I don't think so.
But Nick
Castellanos, they tried to sign him back in the day.
Did they?
I'm just assuming they probably
okay. And then Nick Castellanos, who I believe the Sox actually contacted him free agency, but never made an offer to. But we've also discussed him being a potential trade target on this show. So,
and he's just a White Sox killer. His career numbers against them is like ridiculous.
I liked Winker a little bit more than Castellanos, but I just remembered who else. I know you have Garcia, but my third. So obviously I had Acuna, Winker. My third one that I updated today, I did Tyler O'Neill from St. Louis. O'Neill's been ripping the ball this season, and I actually hoping that he actually does make it. He's a great young guy, young prospect out of their farm system. So
I love it, man. I love it. So much exciting stuff coming up with the All-Star game. Don't forget to vote for your White Sox. And we got some fun segments to close out the show here. And to remind everybody, coming up this Friday at Guaranteed Rate Field, the White Sox opening day 2.0. That's right. There it is. Reopening night. Country music night. They're going to have fireworks. They're giving away a cap. That's all right, Zim. You don't gotta gag.
I'm not a country guy. Sorry.
Well, that's all right. But nonetheless, back to 100% capacity. Let's get that house full. Everyone get out and support your White Sox. It's the day to go. You can get that cool looking hat. It's a pretty cool design, locally designed. Just get out there and support your team. I can't wait personally to have the house full over there. And in celebration of that, we're going to talk must-see things at Guaranteed Rate Field, formerly U.S. Cellular Field, formerly Comiskey Park. I still call it Comiskey sometimes. I know a lot of people do. But what's your go-to, guys, when we go to the park? I will give it first to our newest member and full-time. That's Vinny Parisi. Vinny, when you go to Guaranteed Rate Field, what do you have to do, or what's one of the highlights?
Yeah, so I'll start with my honorable mention, the Cuban panini. So good. That little stand, it's like the mini Minoso stand. I believe it's on the third base side. It's delicious. You got to get yourself one of those. But in terms of like an experience, it's definitely the Craft Cave. So the Craft Cave is like under right field. You take some stairs down and there's just loads of craft beer. There's like multiple different refrigerators filled with different kind of stuff, lots of local breweries. It's just something you got to hit if you're there. And if you like beer, great. There's so many selections. Even if you don't, it's just a cool place to hang out. So I highly recommend that to people who visit the stadium.
Yeah, and if you're going before the game, also in the same area, Vinny, I don't know if you've ever been, but at the Bertucci boys down there, they have the pregame little buffet. You can get like the fried chicken. Mm-hmm, I think they have beef and all that stuff. And then you can sit down there in the bar, and it's at field level. So you can kind of hang out in there, watch batting practice from the other team. Everyone asks me this, and if you don't know, that you can't watch Sox batting practice anymore. They do it before they open the gates, or they wrap it up right as gates open. But you can watch visiting batting practice, and that's pretty cool. So I'm with you, Vinny. The Craft Cave is a pretty awesome experience. the whole ballpark as a whole has so much to offer. Let's just not Vinny. I'm looking right at you. I'm saying your name, Gonzo. What's your go-to when you go to the park for an experience? Because there's so many different things you could do at this park. It's not like it's a place that you have to go and watch the game and leave. You can move around. You can walk. You can check out stores. What's yours?
Yeah, a lot of you guys stole my favorite places to go in the ballpark. But I'm more of a guy in the moment, and views wise. But like when I'm going to the game, driving to the game, usually I take the Metro. But when I'm driving, when you're going up that 35th Street ramp and you look at the ballpark right there, it's just such a great view at that moment. But also this picture was taken from the gate 4 ramp at the 300 level. There's a nice little opening that you really get a good skyline view of the city. And I just like to take a moment of time just to step aside off the ramp and just, kind of enjoy the moment and get this beautiful view of the city. There's nothing like this view of the city of Chicago. So whatever venue you're at, if you're at, Wrigley or, the Guaranteed Rate Field, even United Center, or even when you're taking Lakeshore going to a Bears game, it's just amazing skyline views. And this is actually absolutely what I love to see. So this was actually a personal photo of mine taken. But other than that, that's what I like to enjoy. Also,
and how about
from that view, it's also right in front of the old layout of Comiskey, where the old plate is in the parking lot there. So it's just a nice little history moment too, as well. So go ahead, Joe.
Awesome, man. I was just going to say another thing to highlight. It's not even a place. It's just being there and the smell. The ballpark smell. I think we can all agree. You walk in the gates. First, you get the hot dogs, the grilled onions. Then you're smelling like the jalapenos from the nacho stand. A kid walks by with Dippin' Dots. Then you got a Chicago-style dog. Then you got a brat. Then you got a Polish. Vinny, you see the Cuban stand. They're sizzling there on the flat top with your mojo sauce over there on the side. Oh, my God. Just the ballpark as a whole.
And at some point, Joe, you forgot the most valuable smell at the ballpark. At some point, you walk past a trash can that just stinks like vomit, and you get away from it as fast as you can to enjoy the rest of the good smells at the ballpark.
Yeah. Well, that's the rare. That's not the good smell, but that's a smell that you will encounter, of course.
It's in the back of my mind every time I go to a ballpark. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna smell vomit tonight. I have to keep that. Like, it's disgusting. It's unfortunate, but usually whatever stand is right next to it is selling something delicious. So you can kind of make up for it pretty quickly. Yeah.
That's right. And for mine, I'm going to go with, I know Gonzo said he was going to go with this, but I'm going to go with the left field shower. So if you go in left field, you got the shower down here, right by like section 160, 161. And for those of you who don't know what it looks like, you go out there, you're in a hot summer day, you go down there, ice cold water comes down, get you nice and refreshed, get you drenched. But I tell you what, you're going to feel great. And guys, here's what it used to look like at old Comiskey Park. It's a tradition that's been carried on from the old park. That's what it used to look like. I mean, how about that? I mean, it's cool getting a little dose of that old school history. And, you see people that have been taking that shower in left field. I remember when I worked at the park, there were people that were just completely drenched, but it was hot, and I bet you they loved every second of it. So that's one of my highlights. Even if you don't go in the water, you just got to walk by and see somebody take a dip. And then also honorable mention for me is right in the same vicinity, right by the kids' Xfinity Zone, is the Revolution Brewing Tap Room. So if you kind of go up the stairs, there's a sweet little it's not even little, it's a pretty big area. It's a bar. They have Revolution products, beer. They have other breweries, craft beer. And there's food from I think it's some of the food from the Stadium Club. And they sell fancy pretzels sometimes, pieces of pizza, things that are a little bit more upscale, special pretzels. Anyway, it's really cool. And it's a total cool bar vibe up there. Like there's pinball machine. There's a Frank Thomas pinball machine, which is totally probably from 1994 and refurbished. It's awesome. So I love going up there, and they have a little balcony. So they're not ticketed seats. You can go up there, grab a beer, and they have seats that are looking over. It's almost like a 300 level balcony. And you can just grab a stool and sit there, and you're watching the game with a bird's eye view. So that's an honorable mention for me. And of course, you got to make sure you check out in center field the Charles Comiskey statue, classic, and then in right field, Harold Baines, of course, classic stuff. Make sure you check that out when you're in the park. So those are a couple of mine. But Steven Zimmerman, why don't you take it away?
Yeah. No, just continuing right where you left off. The first place I would like to go when I get back to the stadium is to the Paul Konerko and Frank Thomas. Man, I wanted to say Jim Thome so bad, and I knew it was wrong. But the Paul Konerko statue, that's my photo that I took last time I was there in 2015. But I got a real bad photo of it. The perspective's cool, but that's about it. The Stanley Cup happened to be there the same day that I was, and that sort of took precedence over everything else. I managed to find my opportunity to touch the cup. So that's something that, I remember a little bit more than the game itself. All I really remember from the game is Gordon Beckham hit a walk-off home run it was either the 9th or the 10th. Regardless, it was a walk-off home run. He became the first player in league history to hit a walk-off home run on Mother's Day and Father's Day in the same season. And I don't think anyone's done it since.
And now he's calling games with Jason Benetti.
Yeah. He's actually been pretty fun to listen to, I got to say. I was pleasantly surprised. It's a little weird. I think I still want Stoney back, though. There's our Frank Thomas statue.
Yeah, I think he'll come back. I have a feeling Stone Pony will be back.
Yeah. Oh, he's got to be.
Hunch.
He's got to be. He's probably just out in Arizona golfing or something. Who knows? But no, my next place that I got to go to that I love to hit, my absolute favorite thing at the ballpark is the interactive areas, the kids corner, whatever you want to call it. Throw the ball, hit the ball. Speed pitch. What's more fun than watching a bunch of adults throw out their UCLs and their rotator cuffs? And, then you step in there and, show them up by throwing barely faster than them or hurting yourself even worse. One way or the other, I'm winning.
Can we talk for a second about how the stadium worker's totally checking out your ass in this photo and smiling?
Hey, those shorts make me look good, so I don't blame her one bit.
You got those glutes on full display?
I sure do, man. I played catcher. You know what that does for a man's gluteus maximus? It is very... No, go ahead.
I was going to say, was it a Bootius Maximus?
Yeah, there you go. That was mature. Thanks, Joe. Very glad that we took time for that. But
I worked hard on that one.
I just love the interactive areas. This picture's from Coors Field, where I just went last week, which was a lot of fun. Theirs isn't, I don't know. I think I like Guaranteed Rates a little better. They got the little mannequin in the catcher's gear that you throw to. At the Rockies Stadium, you're just throwing at a square on the wall. So I think it's a little more fun at the rate.
Yeah, they have the batter dummy in the outfit, and you can plunk them right in the head or whatever. I believe they moved it back. I think it's in section. If I had to guess, I think it's like 155, right, roughly where I'm sitting, 154.
It's still in left field though, there, right?
They slightly moved it. It was originally like in left field, like literally closer towards center. And then they moved it now. It's next to one of those big bars, section 154, 155.
It's like
actually right where Loretta's Lounge used to be. And now it's, did they move it again, Vinny? I think it's there. I think
it's like where third base line and left field meet, like in the corner.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Cool. Well, yeah, we'll be hitting that when I'm out there this summer. And, I want to go through the whole park. And that's something that I really want to stress is just that, there's not a whole lot of bad stuff in these ballparks these days, no matter where you go. Sure, there's going to be some stuff that's not to your taste or to your liking, but it's just enjoy the experience. Go see everything that there is to see. at the stadium out here, they've got the Rockies Legends area. They've got the rock pile.
Yep.
They've got an interactive area. They've got all kinds of interesting restaurants and shops to stop into. And if it's your first Rockies game, just tell someone at guest services and they'll give you a little button that says it's my first Rockies game.
There you go. You do the same thing now. Sox does that. You can get a certificate. It's almost like a birth certificate.
That's pretty cool.
Bring your kid or whatever. And I think they do that at Wrigley too. It's pretty cool. And actually, we got Gabriel in the chat mentioning this is a great thing too about Sox Park. I totally forgot about the 2 blue seats left from the World Series 2005, where Paul Konerko hit his grand slam. That blue seat is still there. And I think Scotty Pod's home run, which I think one was in left and one was in right. They're closer to center.
Yep. It's like right center.
Right center, yeah.
Yeah, both of those
in
blue
the power
seats are
alley.
still there. Yeah, so it's pretty cool that those 2 seats that were left as nice little mementos of those great moments in White Sox history. So that's another cool thing. So yeah, thanks for the reminder, Gabe. That's a great, cool part of Sox Park. And
you know what I got to check out? Now that I think about it, the most famous section on Twitter, 108. I got to go check out Goose Island and the 108 section and just, I don't know, power slam a beer right there.
I mean, section 108 is right, not far from the Goose Island. It's probably
right
1 or 2 sections over, maybe. Yeah. And that's cool. And that's another honorable mention as well. Section 1, that section over there has the Goose Island, which has a cool red. It's almost like a red line L track car that has the bar inside of it. So that's really well done. And that whole Goose Island has cool seating, like I can't even say. Really comfortable seats and recliners and all that stuff. I'd love to see a game there at some point, but it's direct sunlight. So if it's a day game, you're going to get roasted.
Yeah. No, it's been 6 years since I've been to a Sox game. You guys are getting me all fired up for it right now. I expect to be on a FaceTime call with one of the 3 of you for the entirety of Friday's game. So
that's if we get it in. It's supposed to be thunderstorms. I hope the forecast changes. Every game, I feel like every game I go to this year, there's a threat of rain. I'm like, come on now. But it's been a fun week. We talked a lot of White Sox baseball, just jibber jabbering back and forth. We actually got one more note in the chat about something you got to check out when you go to the park. The funnel cake stand. That's right. That's an honorable mention. I always forget about the funnel cake stand until you smell it.
Y'all,
Definitely
I'm sorry.
Smell.
I think I just had some PTSD and repressed this, but something just came to me when I saw Rena Z's comment there about the funnel cake stand. You will not believe what these Colorado country ass people do out here.
Oh boy.
They smother. I saw at least 3 people do this. Completely cover their funnel cakes in ketchup.
I just want to go throw up now.
Yeah.
That's gross.
I had to see it and I needed to share it with you guys. Like I had to get that off of my chest. This feels like confessional right now. Like it feels.
What about that is good?
I don't know. Nothing about ketchup is good. Everything about a funnel cake is good. You found the one way to ruin a funnel cake. And I saw multiple people doing it. Like, I don't understand. Is this some
just
sort
not
of
know what it is?
I don't know. Is this something that I've missed in my upbringing out here? Like, if anybody can explain this to me, please let me know. I feel like I would rather see somebody put ketchup on a hot dog before I saw them put it on a funnel cake.
I would rather see it on neither, but yeah. That's disgusting, Zim. Now it's going to haunt my dreams now.
I think that's as disgusting as not picking a White Sox player and you're put it on the board player of the week.
Oh, he's throwing fire. Travis says he wants ketchup on a hot dog. Travis, no. No.
Funny.
I'm sorry for completely killing the mood of the show with that.
It could be.
So he didn't kill the mood. We're getting ready to close things out for the show. We've gotten to that point, but before we do our shout outs, let's talk about our guest next week. Our buddy Vinny's good friends with him. Jason Conander is going to be joining us on the show. You, of course, know him from The Podcaster and Her Son, the podcast Peggy Kaczynski. Well, Jason, he is the son. And Vinny, why don't you talk a little bit about how you know Jason?
Yeah, so Jason used to work at one of the blogs I write for, DeWindy City. Great writer, certainly knows his White Sox. So it'll definitely be interesting to hear his perspective on the team right now, because the last time I chat with him about the team, they kind of stunk. So it'll be interesting to get his perspective on what's going on now, and we're excited to have him.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show. Of course, next week, same time, same place, 7:45 p.m. Central Time on the Ballroom Network. As we've gotten to the shout-out portion of the show, we'll keep things hot with Vinny, our newest member. Vinny, what shout-outs you got before we get out of here?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much to everyone who's watched, supported. Thank you guys for having me on full-time. It means a lot to me. You know, all three of you I love, and I can't wait to meet you guys in person for the first time next Friday. Zim will be FaceTiming, I'm sure. You know, it means the world to me. So my shout-outs, my mom, dad, my brother, my girlfriend, Hannah, I love you. You're my hero. And without them, I'd be nothing. So I appreciate and love each and every one of them. And shout out to the Sox for making me positive after a 4-game sweep.
Hey, man, it's a beautiful thing. That's awesome, Vinny. Gonzo, we'll go ahead and toss it to you next. What do you got for shout-outs?
So I saw Jeremy in the chat. Jeremy's one of my fraternity brothers, so I was glad to see him in the chat. Shout out to you, Jerm. There's Jeremy. Yep. I agree with them on that comment too. But my next shout out's also going to be one of my other friends, Chad Diska. For my birthday, and I didn't get this until this week, and my birthday was a week ago, but he got me a Cody Bellinger model bat from Louisville when he went to go visit the factory. So he got me a nice, solid MLB Cody Bellinger modeled bat. And I was scared to swing it in the house, but I'm definitely have to use that in the next adult league that I get into in the near future. Hopefully I get into it again. But I'll be so happy to start swinging that. So thanks, Chad. And those are my shout outs for this week.
I love it, man.
Also, I want to shout out all the tornado victims from last night's storm that ripped through the Chicagoland area. So everyone, thoughts and prayers out for Naperville, Woodridge, and Darien. It was so last-minute storm, and it was so sad to see. And glad that, as of the moment, I didn't see any casualties, if I remember right. So I'm glad that update.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm updated that's positive. And also, I know I hit a doggy daycare up there too. So, and all the animals are safe. So, and they were all collected. So, some positive news from a very sad storm.
No doubt about it. Zim, shout outs, my friend.
Little unconventional on the shout outs this week, but I got to do it. My favorite band dropped 2 new songs today, and I am just over the moon about it. They announced a new tour. Shout out to Real Friends, Tinley Park natives, coming out with 2 new songs, brand new singer, changed their sound a little bit, but still just freaking banger songs. And shout out to Dan, their former singer, and his new project, Rationale, Oak Lawn natives, those guys. And they are also releasing some new music and have been for a little while now. And if you're into pop punk or indie rock, those are the 2 bands that I would strongly recommend you go check out right now. But I'm ecstatic about it. I couldn't hide it. I had to give a little kind of shout out / promo for the Chicago locals, making music, living their dreams, doing what I wish I could have done. So aside from that, shout out to all the fathers out there. Happy Father's Day to everybody. I recently celebrated my first, and still don't quite get all the hype, but hey, maybe someday I'll get to crack open some beers and go fishing with the kids, right?
Hey man, soon enough. That's amazing. Got to experience your first. And yeah, for my shout outs, of course, I want to start there. Huge happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, future dads, past dads, current dads. Shout out to everyone. And if your dad's not here, just cherish those memories. It's an amazing thing. And of course, I want to shout out my wife, Catherine, and my dog, Maverick. I love you guys very much. And that's all I got for this week, guys. I'm just I'm living in a state of bliss, man. Life is good. The White Sox are going to turn things around, and we get to do the show every week. So it's therapeutic in its own special way. And with that said, guys, let's get out of here. You know, we've had a heck of a show, almost 2 hours long. But the White Sox, big series coming up. Get back on track. We're going to be back next week with Jason Conander for the South Burbs Hitmen. I'm Joe Mandel. Below me is Chris Gonzalez, Vinny Parisi, and Steven Zimmerman. We will see you guys next week. And go White Sox.